Thank you, Secretary Kerry. The floor is now open for questions. Due to our extremely tight schedule, we can only take 2 questions, one from each side, and no follow-up question, please. We'll take the first question from the Philippine media. Mr. JC Cotinga from CNN Philippines will ask the question.
This question is for Secretary Yasay, but of course Secretary is free to answer if he should want to. Secretary Yasay, how does the Duterte administration plan to implement the EDCA in light of the fact that China is disregarding the ruling from the Arbitral Tribunal?
To begin with, let me say that the ruling and EDCA has no bearing or direct bearing whatsoever. Even as China has made its statement not to respect or recognize the decision, it does not automatically on that basis kick into play EDCA. It continues. And I'd like to assure you that the President has also committed to make sure that our agreements with the United States will be fully fulfilled and respected.
I think the Minister answered it very effectively.
The next question will come from the U.S. media. Ms. Leslie Roton of Reuters will ask the question.
Thank you. Mr. Foreign Minister, good morning. I wanted to also talk about South China Sea. Was the joint statement from the ASEAN nations really a victory for ASEAN when it skipped a mention of the arbitration decision and basically stuck to its pro forma comments as it always did? And then to the Secretary, only 6 countries have joined the United States.
We're both secretaries.
I'm sorry. It's early in the morning.
That's okay.
Mr. Secretary, only 6 countries have joined the United States calling publicly for it to be respected. And both ASEAN and the EU have also shied away from publicly calling for that. How does one prevent the ruling from becoming irrelevant? And how do you think these diplomatic discussions, what you heard today, how do you see these diplomatic discussions moving ahead?
Let me answer the question first. The merits of the decision of the Arbitral Tribunal is a matter of concern between China and the Philippines. And China and the Philippines hope to engage each other in moving forward to the peaceful implementation of the arbitral award. Insofar as the other aspect of your question is, okay, I think it was a triumph for ASEAN. If you will look at the joint communique and the statement, it covers all of the elements and fundamental principles that on which ASEAN is based and which justify the existence of ASEAN. They have talked about the respect for legal processes and the democratic processes in resolving this dispute. It has talked about upholding international law and the 1982 UNCLOS. It has also expressed their concerns about the actions that have been taken that destabilize, such as the reclamation activities that has been undertaken, and this is very important. And more importantly, it has asked all of the parties concerned to exercise restraint and sobriety towards the peaceful settlement of their disputes. So this to me is a triumph for ASEAN because it makes ASEAN more credible to the international community and it makes it more efficient, effective, and relevant as a regional group.
Thank you, Leslie. I think that Secretary Yasay has given a very good answer. I'll just add a couple of things to it. I ask you to go read the communique paragraph for paragraph as I did before we approved it. And I was very satisfied that the communique clearly referenced all legal rights, all legal decisions, legal process, legal tribunal, legal decisions, without mentioning the arbitration. And sometimes, frankly, a meeting like that and diplomacy, you don't always have to include every single word that may, in fact, sometimes make it harder to get to the dialogue that you want to get to. But every single principle, every single value of rule of law was embraced in that communique. The communique said clearly that everybody supported the law of the sea process. Everybody supported the rule of law. Everybody thought that there must be a reduction of tension. Everybody thought that people needed to abide by what the legal requirements were under the law, and they had to be resolved by rule of law. Now, I made it clear, and I think the Foreign Secretary made it clear, as have everybody else, that the decision itself is a binding decision. But we're not trying to create a confrontation. We're trying to create a solution, mindful of the rights of people that are established under the law. So as we encourage the Philippines, and we encourage the Chinese, and we encourage other claimants to engage in negotiations, that's not new. I did that when I went to Beijing and China 3 years ago. And President Obama has said that. We are consistently, year after year, urging parties to negotiate, to work this through diplomatically, bilaterally, multilaterally, build up confidence-building measures. And when we say that we urge a negotiation, we do so obviously understanding that our friend and ally, the Philippines, can only do so on terms that are acceptable to the government of the Philippines. So my judgment is hopefully you shouldn't be looking for the confrontation, you should be looking for the solution. And I believe that was a communique that helps perhaps to move people towards the kind of discussion that could bring about a conclusion. But it still is mindful of what we believe is the impact and judgment of that decision itself.
But Mr. Secretary, if you don't mention the ruling publicly, if nobody admits it, then are you not afraid that it could become irrelevant?
It's impossible for it to be irrelevant. It's legally binding, and it's obviously a decision of a court that is recognized under international law, and it has to be part of the calculation. And I am confident our friends in the Philippines will make their judgments about what their negotiating position is and how they intend to proceed forward. What we want to do is urge people to not try to build up the tensions. Don't take provocative actions. Leave the space here for people to be able to find a way forward that meets the needs of the region, of the nations, and also respects people's rights and obligations. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. I'm sorry we're on a tight schedule because of our pilot limitations, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. This ends our joint press conference. Thank you, Secretary Yasay. Thank you, Secretary Kerry. And thank you to our friends in the media. KKK.
Thank you.